This morning, again, I walked into the prison without being searched. No one on security. It would have been so easy to have got something in today, handed something to a prisoner. I could have had anything on me when I walked in this morning.
A few weeks ago, I applied to work undercover at Bedford Prison. HMP Bedford is one of 5 jails recently put on urgent notification to improve after it was found to have the highest levels of violent assaults against staff out of all men's prisons in the country. I applied via an agency for a temporary position as a prison escort, also referred to as an OSG or Operational Support Grade Escort. Regular OSGs are hired directly by the Ministry of Justice and have increasingly been used at prisons in recent years. By applying through an agency for the OSG escort role, I did not have to go through normal prison staff vetting before starting the job. OSGs exist at prisons across the country, and they're almost like with police officers, how you also have PCSOs, the support officers, and they wear the uniform, but they don't have the same training and they don't have the same responsibilities. And the lack of vetting has been extraordinary. I applied a few weeks ago on a Tuesday. Less than 2 weeks later, after submitting some documents, my clearance came through, and then I was asked if I could start work the following Monday. So that's less than 3 weeks after sending my application. The basis for allowing me in was that they'd done a PNC check, so that's a police check to make sure I don't have a criminal record. But they haven't checked my employment background, because had they done that thoroughly, they'd have found very easily that I work at the Times. Actually, if you just Google my name, you find out very quickly that I'm a journalist at the Times and that I do undercover work, and am exactly the type of person that you wouldn't want to hire for a role like this. I began working undercover at Bedford Prison in February. My role involved escorting building contractors while they worked on site. I wore uniform and carried keys, giving me access to prisoner wings. HMP Bedford is a Category B prison and largely used for high-risk prisoners on remand awaiting trial. There is capacity for 400 prisoners, and they can include murderers and rapists. The prison has airport-style security on the front gate, which should mean that everyone entering is searched thoroughly for contraband, including drugs and weapons. However, when I arrived for my shifts, I found this was often not happening. For this investigation, the Times decided not to film covertly inside the prison. It's a criminal offence to bring recording equipment into a prison without permission, and there was the risk that had a prisoner got hold of illicit items, there could have been serious consequences. Instead, I decided to keep a video diary.
This morning, I arrived at the prison. There was literally no one on security. There was that one OSG at reception, showed her my ID, and then I walked through. This morning, again, I walked into the prison without being searched. No one on security. Just walked straight through the scanner. The scanner actually beeped because I had my keys in my pocket. I could have had anything on me when I walked in this morning. I kept checking and no one was on that security at the front, the EGS security, for half an hour. During that time, lots of other people came through, other OSGs like me, prison officers, other cleaners, loads of people who work on the site, none being searched properly. There was one moment today which was pretty extraordinary, where I was on one wing of the prison which is being done up by builders and about to let them walk through, and a fight suddenly breaks out. There's all these prison officers rushing to get to the fight and contain the situation, and I suddenly realised I'm the person with the key that is essentially protecting all these people behind me. And who am I? I'm someone who applied for this job a few weeks ago, got vetted extremely quickly. It was about 3:15 this afternoon. I was walking in to the main wing area with a few colleagues, and there was just such a smell of weed. One guy who came in today was saying that he was worried about driving in because he had knives in his tools, and so he was worried about what was going to happen. Were they going to let him come in? And one of the other contractors said, "Oh no, don't worry, they barely searched." And when I spoke to him afterwards and saw him with his van, he said, "Oh yeah, it was fine, but they didn't find the knives, so that was fine." And I never would have thought before taking this job undercover that it would be so easy to bring in weapons, drugs, anything into this prison. It would be so easy.
During the 2 weeks I was undercover, a damning inspection report into HMP Bedford was published, describing it as having some of the worst conditions inspectors have seen. The inspectors found that the jail was filthy, infested with rats and cockroaches, and stated that levels of violence remained very high. They said there were staffing shortfalls, many officers were inexperienced, and prisoners were often locked in their cells for up to 23 hours per day. While I was undercover, staff also described how a prisoner had escaped in July 2022. They said doors had been left unlocked, and this meant the prisoner was able to simply walk out of the prison through a series of open doors. In November 2016, there was a riot inside the prison, during which prisoners took control of the wings for 6 hours. Prisons nationwide are in crisis, with many unable to recruit or retain enough officers to cope safely with rising numbers of inmates. Figures show that almost all prisons across England and Wales are already either full or close to full capacity. So I'm done. I'm handing in my notice. I've finished the undercover job. The thing that really sticks out for me, and I still can't get my head around, is how the security is so lax. I'm really interested to see what the Ministry of Justice have to say about that, what the Prison Inspectorate have to say about that, because I think they'd be incredibly alarmed.